Today we're going to be talking about a massive anime franchise and just something that has completely taken the community by storm and hasn't left our minds for a really long time since it was published. Today we are talking about Attack on Titan. Now, today we're going to be dealing with one of the most important parts of Attack on Titan. We're going to be dealing with Season 1, where it all began. So for this review, this is going to be part 1 in my part series, and knowing how long it's going to take me to make these videos, by the time I finish this, Season 4 part 2 will be done. So I'll make sure to have a video on that eventually. But anywho, let's start this off. Starting with the Fall of Shigashima arc. So this technically is an arc, but it's very short. It's 2 episodes. Now granted, I don't normally consider it a arc, but it is very good. Now, Attack on Titan, the first ever episode, came out on April 7th in 2013. So 9 years ago. That's pretty crazy to think about. In a year and a couple months, it will be 10 years old, which is crazy because it's still relatively one of the newcomers. When you really think about it, like, you don't compare it to Naruto, you compare it to Demon Slayer, if that makes any sense. It is more of a newbie than it is a veteran, if that may, to sort of speak. So, getting into the series back then was pretty interesting, to say the least, especially since back in 2013, the community was very different. Like, simply put, I would say that the real, especially on YouTube, like, the real anime renaissance for YouTubers, I'd say, was probably 2016 and onward. That's when the media really became its own, and we started getting different YouTubers and different things. Because now, we're no longer getting just reviewers. We're getting power scalers and theory videos and all this amazing and diverse content continually being streamed to us via YouTube. So seeing this explode along with Attack on Titan and it always being there leads to something similar to, well, My Hero, where, you know, My Hero was also growing with, and we soon found out that the My Hero fan base kind of sucks. So, and this is coming from a My Hero fan, so I know what I'm talking about. But anywho, that's enough setup. The first arc is extremely crucial to the plot, and basically sets everything up, as any good first arc should do. Sometimes you get first arcs that are a cut of what bigger arcs will be later on, and that's not what it is like here. This is a unique experience. No other arc in Attack on Titan is quite like it, and it sets up everything. For starters, this is an extremely brutal arc, to say the least. I would definitely consider it a powerful way to start the season, and with everything that happens in the future, this is definitely something that needed to have a major impact, and for that, I think it succeeded. There's also some character building and defining, and you get a sense of especially Eren and how he is going to develop. Especially looking back on it, but, you know, hindsight is 2020. Now, having this arc be very brutal and showing things, for example, light spoilers, but Eren's mom gets eaten. But this is in the first 2 episodes of a series that came out in 2013. So I'm going to be spoiling it. However, I will try to keep the spoilers to a minimum because I know there are people in existence who have not seen the show. So, that's fair. I mean, there's all stuff we haven't seen. I haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist, and frankly, I'm probably not going to for a while. I got other stuff I gotta watch, and reviews I gotta make, so, to each their own. I have to read One Piece for the 80th time, but not actually, but actually. Alright, so having this incredible arc start us off is extremely powerful, and one thing that later seasons obviously set up is that Titans are not as big of a threat as they feel they should. Only in the most recent episode of season 4 did we kind of get that sense that Titans are, a threat once again. But here, season 1, oh man, they are threatening. They are threatening. You take the Titans seriously the entire time. When a Titan is on screen, unless it is a powerhouse, when I mean powerhouse, I mean one of the top tiers of the verse, like Levi or Mikasa or one of the high-ranking scouts. It's definitely a situation where you take the monster on set seriously, which is so important for especially shonen slash seinen series. Now, this is the shortest arc, obviously, and with everything that happens, you get a mixture of certain aspects that, are pretty crazy to look at and see, especially in hindsight. Now, the next arc, technically, if we're going by the anime, is the 104th Training Corps arc. You may think I'm saying Training Corps, but no, it's Training Corps. Because, shocker, in this seinen slash shonen manga, the side characters die. I don't feel bad for spoiling that. Oh, training arc. Now, normally training arcs are meant to boost up the character's morale and boost their self-confidence, as well as have them gain power. Or it will just get them on the same playing field that everyone else in said world is using. Attack on Titan does all three of these. It propels Eren, especially, into the arc, sort of, with every other character. So, yes, he can use maneuvering gear well. Well, not too well, but he can do it now. So, having that, and then you take into account, he kind of has, his own little specialities, makes him feel important. But, looking back on it, I can safely say that the anime made the right choice, because I'm getting this out of the way right now. They technically changed things. Now, I know manga readers and anime onlys both argue about this. Personally, I lean more towards the anime adaptation where, they fight, or they have the characters train and then fight, so when their deaths actually mean something. Rather than, time skip, Eren's a scout now, Eren's fighting now, wait, we need to cut back. It just makes it a lot less complicated, especially during binge watching / reading, which, is very good. Especially since, guess what? If people want to watch it right now, they're gonna binge it. So, what are you gonna do, right? Now, having all this set up really does help, and, one of the things is that a lot of them don't get glorious deaths, but they also don't get too gruesome deaths. Like, there's a character who dies, and it's a she. It's no one really important, it's just a side character that no one cares about and had maybe 3 long lines of dialogue. So, when she dies because she gets crushed by a Titan and stepped on. Now, they step on her, it doesn't fully crush her, and it just sort of shatters her back and shatters her because she's hit into a massive tree. So her back is just bent, and completely crooked. Now, this isn't a glorious way to die. Like, it's not heroically sad, it's not super powerful, it's not immensely telling. It's just a death, which makes sense because you look at, wars and stuff like that. People don't normally die in crazy heroic ways, right? Like they do, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just saying that the way they die feels very realistic because it's never really super dramatic. It's more of just, holy dude, that character just died. That's a problem. Right there. And you feel that in almost every character death, even in the side characters. So having that, it's just extremely powerful. Now, moving on to the Battle District arc. This is one of the longer arcs. Not actually, but technically is. So, what really happens is they attempt to mount a full-on assault to take back the wall after it has been breached by the Colossal Titan. Now, the Colossal Titan is the Titan that originally led to the downfall of the wall in the first arc of the series, the Fall of Shigashima. So it obviously makes Eren very upset. Now, having Eren this upset is very good because it leads to emotion, and you quickly get a sense that even though you were on the same playing field, does not mean that you are in the same tier of power or skill. Or you may be on the same field, but you ain't at the same skill level. And that is made very clear with these new recruits. And even with some of the older ones. Like, for example, you can clearly see there's a difference between scouts and military police. And it's not because, oh, we need to make the scouts look good. There is some of that, but the keyword is being some. Some of it. Where you get some really fantastic characters who work inside the walls. But then you get the scouts and you see the scouts are skilled. Most of the time. Now granted, the scouts obviously fall to power creep. Oh, how do we make this character extremely intimidating? Well, they kill some scouts. Oh, but they're the top ranked scouts. They're masters of killing titans. Well, here's the new titan. The new titan, I would like to call the female titan. Which leads me right into the female titan arc. Now, the female titan arc is, once again, a very long arc in comparison to the rest of the arcs. The female titan arc is high energy, to say the least. I have never so thoroughly wanted to... I don't know what the right word is. Oh yeah, punt a titan. Now, granted, the twist I did not see coming the first time. However, once the twist happened, you could definitely see the logic behind it. So, constantly having to change the status quo can often lead a writer to either writer's block or very obvious twists. Now, a good kind of twist is natural, but not out of left field. This is accomplished 100% in the first season, especially during the female Titan arc. Because once again, our observations and our predictions, I can speak personally at least, were subverted. Now, I can also say that with all this in mind, I've never been able to look at Annie or any of the Titan shifters the same again. With the constant moving parts of the plot and the constant character shifts and deaths, you need something that will grab and almost bother the reader. Wherein Annie had been given a decent amount of screen time and hype before she was revealed to be the female Titan. Now, you wonder why she was given so much hype and so much screen time compared to other characters like Reiner or Bertold or even Armin. I would argue Armin gets just a little bit more than Annie. And keep in mind, we have 3 main characters. Well, we have 1 main character and then 2 crazy side characters, which are Mikasa, Armin, and then Eren is obviously the main protagonist with his protagonist powers. Now, all that leads to a character who you wonder what is her deal when she is competing for a main spot with these 3 people. She's competing. Not outdoing, not surpassing, but competing. Which is, a crazy feat within its own. Now, granted, obviously this does happen sometimes in shonen. Like, for example, the main people in Naruto should be Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. But then you throw in extras like Jiraiya, Shikamaru, Rock Lee, Gaara, Madara, Hashirama, all these characters. And sometimes they can overshine the main cast, which is also a testament to a good writer, because sometimes, let's face it, sometimes we want to root for the side character even more than the main character, because sometimes the side character ends up being so likable that you just want them to succeed. Meanwhile, the main character is like, oh, why do you get this much screen time when I don't like you as much as the others? And that can happen a lot. That is definitely a problem I can see some people running into. Eren, as a protagonist, look, I know this is weird, but sometimes I get secondhand embarrassment from watching Eren interact in situations. It's like, look, I get it, you've been through some stuff, but you can also act like a normal human being. So, having Eren finally lose his cool, but not in a bad way. It's in a way to protect his friends, which is definitely admirable, especially with Annie. I've never once disliked how he reacted to Annie and trying to get her to, go in the tunnel. Also, I know this is technically major spoilers, technically, but then again, this is one of those shows where it's like, oh, how does that make sense whatsoever? Like, oh, Eren wants... Granted, it also makes Eren sound a little bit creepy. Eren wants Annie to go into the tunnel. That way she can prove her innocence. Yeah, it's not that weird, alright? It's more of, he's trying to prove her innocence of murder, because she supposedly has committed some big no-nos, and we cannot allow that. But anywho, back on topic. Finally, the fight in the last 2 episodes, I want to say, is very well done. The Attack Titan versus the female Titan. It's a crazy throwdown that I absolutely love. And you get a real sense that Eren is losing his mind and just pushes past what humanity should push past in order to kill the female Titan. Final verdict. What are the main downsides of this? Well, the main downsides I would say is it is good, but the narrative does not hit you as hard as it does in later seasons. Where, this is definitely the early arcs. You can tell that just by watching it. There's less complexity to them, which also, complexity doesn't equal quality. I know that's hard to understand sometimes, but, take it from me. Sometimes shoving 2,000 characters onto a page doesn't equal it being good. Because remember, every anime has had a war arc at one point or another, but yet I really doubt everyone is saying that every single anime is good. Especially some. Anywho, so, the complexity is definitely dialed down though, and all the moving parts can quickly snap into place, along with the twists. The twists don't have as much foreshadowing as I would like, but then again, some twists you can completely predict for no reason other than, hey, I'm gonna guess this, and then you end up being right. So after the Attack Titan Best the Female Titan, we come up to another minor spoiler. The spoiler that Titans are in the wall. So, having Titans in the wall basically shifts the entire first season once again, which is just something that is, very remarkable and incredible to do. Now, I'm going to get this out of the way. Another flaw of the series is the fact that, being thrown around can sometimes be to the detriment of the show. For example, you find out, oh, people can turn into Titans. Oh, Titans are actually the wall. Oh, Titans are actually, such and such. I'm waiting for season. Get ready. I know the manga's technically over, but people have also talked about an anime original ending. Anywho, so having all this, taking all this in, all this critique, all the positives, all the negatives. I'm cutting that too. Not yet. So, another positive of the show is the animation. The animation is very good, especially for 2013. Now, granted, it would be surpassed not only by its next season, but also other shows. I would say in the 2013 to 2017 margin, that really, hit hard. Granted, not in the giant category, because, let's face it, a lot of shows right now are like, ooh, well, why would we draw the mechs when we can CGI them? Doesn't that look better, guys? Ha ha ha. And it's like, no, it does not. Stop with the mecha CGI. But anywho, also technically I do count Attack on Titan. It's kind of mecha, but it's more of a kaiju vibe, obviously, which, helps it greatly because, simply put, Japan loves kaiju, because kaiju are awesome. So it basically makes a zombie movie. The comparison, it's a zombie movie, or a zombie TV show, but the zombies are the size of a building. And with that unique premise comes unique attack methods, like the 3D maneuver gear, which is still so incredible to watch, and all the dynamic movements, especially in certain shots, the animators really pull their weight. They do not slack. Wit is very good. Now, another pro is, well, I have to say pro, but it's more of just a comparison. The openings, super iconic. However, the name is not, because it supposedly goes by Fiero Pefel un Bogun. But the thing is, no one knows it by that name. It's Attack on Titan opening one. Everyone knows that opening. It's considered one of the most iconic anime openings of all time, right up there with like Chala e Chala from Dragon Ball, Cruel Angel's Thesis from Eva, Gotta Catch 'Em All for Pokemon, some of Naruto Shippuden's opening. And when I say Naruto Shippuden's opening, you know exactly which one I'm talking about. Along with We Are from One Piece, and even the One Piece rap. Some pretty iconic stuff up there, as you can clearly see. But, anywho, so the soundtrack, apart from these two standouts, isn't really anything too crazy, which, granted, it doesn't need to be. Most of the time, I do love a good soundtrack, but I can't be asking for great animation, great soundtrack, great characters, great story, everything. And then if one of those doesn't deliver, I'm like, oh, it's suddenly so much worse. The thing is, they all need to blend together well. And while the music isn't always as energetic as I wish it were, it definitely gets the job done. And so, having the presentation the way it is, it definitely, it's not the most unique feeling. Like, it doesn't give across the same wacky animation style as some of the other big names in animation, especially right now. But then again, that's not what it's trying to do. It is trying to give us smooth animation when they fight the Titans, which is exactly, I repeat, exactly what it does and what I like about it. It is smooth with enough detail where it looks nice on stills, but can still fluidly move like water. The presentation is definitely high enough where I can recommend it to someone, even if they don't tend to watch older anime. Because you obviously get that trap sometimes where there are shows I like out there, but sometimes people don't like to watch them. Like, I've heard people complain about the original Dragon Ball's style. Well, not style, but just how it was animated, because they don't like that old animation techniques. Which, granted, I don't agree with, but I can still understand where they're coming from. So this is modern enough where people who aren't into that stuff are definitely still vibing with this animation, and it's just great all around. So with the presentation, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Now for the story. So the story is great. I wouldn't call... Okay, great is a strong word, and I do not use that word lightly. It is great, but there are still issues with it. For example, some of the plot not conveniences, but twists definitely set up things that are maybe not as well paid off in the future as I would like them to. But that's more so a flaw of later seasons. But also right now, sometimes you get the sense where it's like, oh, why did that happen? Like, for example, as you can probably guess, this super weapon that they have, that they just acquired, a lot of people fear it. So there's this debate that takes up an entire episode, but it feels really contrived how things end. And this isn't me slandering how he writes either of the characters, because you know which scene I'm talking about. It's Levi and Aaron. Levi and Aaron at the court case. People know that scene. I do like that scene. No one is out of character. However, it just feels like a weird way to settle a political debate. Which, granted, can be nice, because political debates can be very hard. Especially in shows that are meant to, give that pure adrenaline rush. Speaking of adrenaline rush, I would say that Attack on Titan Season 1 is definitely more of an adrenaline rush than any of the other seasons. There's not as much to dissect. It's more straightforward. There's just, oh, look at this. This is hype. This is great. This is really cool. And they're fighting giant Godzilla-sized zombies. That is what I like to see. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. Because you come for the action, you stay for the story. So what it needs to do right now is get people invested. And that is what it does in Season 1. Because it sets up things that later on become so fantastic. And later on, I 100% would guarantee that everyone will like it. Now, granted, it is 26 episodes, so it's longer than your average anime. Season is around about double the time that a normal season of anime is, 12 episodes. 12 to 13 at least. So it's double around that time. It makes good use of it, and with everything that continually happens, it's not something that I would necessarily recommend above all else. But I think something that is very important is I want people to catch up on this series just so they can enjoy the hype train forever. Or not forever, but with us all together. Because, listen, I know that people like to watch shows when they're done, but there is something about watching a show and then the next day going home, sitting down, or not going to school, or hopping on Discord or Game Chat or wherever, and talking about the latest episode with your mates. It's something that cannot be cannot and should not be lost, especially in this day and age when communication is everywhere. So my recommendation is that you should get caught up. You'll enjoy this series, and once you're caught up with everyone, you'll have a great hype time with all the people around you, especially who are watching it. So with that, I'm giving the story an 8 out of 10, with the presentation of an 8 out of 10, gives it an average of 8 out of 10. Who could have guessed? Now, with all that said, please subscribe, because I'm making 4 or 5 more parts of this at least. So you might want to stick around, because just between you and me, if you like this video, you'll probably like the others. Alright, goodbye everyone. Have a fantastic day.